come back, my guests will be joining me. Have you heard about AMA Act 2023? What does it mean? I'll be giving you more details on that when we return from the break. To stay. The Arbitration and Mediation Act 2023 was signed by former President Buhari on May 26, 2023. The act represents a crucial turning point in Nigeria's advocacy and growth of arbitration. The act repealed the previous 35-year-old Arbitration and Conciliation Act 1988 and goes a long way towards bridging Nigeria's legislative framework for arbitration in line with contemporary international arbitration principles and practices. The process of reforming Nigerian legislation began in 2005 with the founding of the National Committee on the Reform and Harmonization of Arbitration and Alternative Dispute Resolution Laws in Nigeria, known as the Orojo Committee. The Arbitration and Mediation Act of 2023 governs both foreign and domestic arbitration processes in Nigeria. To fully comprehend the new legislation and its contents, as well as if this will enable Nigeria to become a leader of dispute settlement in Africa and realize the goal of the efficient and fair mediation of commercial disputes in Nigeria, I'm joined by two gentlemen who are members of the Nigerian Institute of Chartered arbitrators. To my immediate left is Engineer Kashim Ali, is the Chairman 2023 Planning Committee of the Nigerian Institute of Chartered Arbitrators. Welcome to the program.
Thank you very much.
And far from me, also my far left, is Mr. Paul Abuhlimen, Secretary of the Institute here in Abuja. I hope, you know, but pardon me. Now let's get started. We have quite a lot to talk about in just a few minutes, but let me start by asking you, Engineer Ali, what is really new in this act? What has changed? And congratulations. I think I know that since May, though, that the president signed it. What has changed with this new act from the 35-year-old one that you had before?
Thank you very much. Number one, from the rudimentary, it came from ACA to AMA.
AMA, yes.
That's
actually what I said.
Lighter side of it.
Oh, okay, now I get the drift. It has changed from ACA to AMA.
And the essence of that is that mediation has become cardinal. The profile of mediation has risen in the course of this. But beyond that, there are about 18 novel provisions in the new act that makes it more effective and more universal, so that anybody interested in arbitration at all, wherever he or she is in the world, will want to do arbitration in Nigeria. And one of those, some of the few key things are, there's now electronic communication. Before now, in the old act, documents have to be signed, agreements have to be signed physically, but now you can do all those communication electronically. There's also the issue of the third-party funding, which is now explicit in this new act. Third-party funding is interesting if you have an arbitration case and then one party cannot fund his arbitration, for instance. He can go to a third party to do the funding, and then he gets the return on it from the proceeds of the award. And then he also default before, when there is no provision for arbitration in a transaction, the default number has to be three arbitrators to adjudicate. But now, that is only one. It reduces the cost of arbitration. And then we have what we call emergency arbitration. For instance, there could be a situation where if an arbitration an item, for instance, is not held down, there could be disaster if we have to wait to go through the process of getting the tribunal set up. So you have arbitration, emergency arbitration, then you have consultation of cases. Now you can also bring cases that from different parties that are similar together. Also, it reduces the time and the cost of arbitration. And then there's also the position for international arbitration, because that is very key. That is the most important part. All along, the seat of arbitration, or most of arbitration for important projects have been outside the country. If you look at this PI and ID case, they put it outside the country because they felt our system was not robust enough. The act was not robust enough. But now that has been strengthened, and even where you don't have necessary agreements by parties to a transaction, the regional office for arbitration in Lagos will be able to appoint, by law now, appoint an arbitrator to look into such things. So there's no lacuna to a large extent for now. Okay. So it makes our country better place for arbitration, and you can do arbitration both for international arbitration and for important projects that people are taking outside. Putting their seat of arbitration outside will now be held here.
Okay. Do you really want to add to what he's saying in terms of, the question will be around what expected changes would come now in the practice of arbitration and mediation in Nigeria?
Now, you see, this new AMA Act, the Arbitration and Mediation Act, is now modeled along the side of UCITRA, which is the United Nations Commission on International Trade Laws. So, but Nigeria is basically one of the few countries in Africa that have that, and most commercial transactions want an arbitration laws that are straightforward. They have they follow up the UCITRA model, which Nigeria has done now. So people will have more confidence in arbitrating in Nigeria. Nigeria will now be a preferred destination for arbitration. in Africa and even internationally. That is one of the major changes that it will bring. Also, the courts are now partners to make sure that arbitration laws go forward. So the courts must do stay of proceeding when a matter is before arbitration or there's an arbitration clause. Unlike before, where the courts may or may not. Now the Act makes it mandatory for the court to stay proceedings where there's issues are before arbitration.
Okay, let me now come to the question of, we've always seen a sticky issue around, you mentioned even the P&ID's case. There's this difficult task of making Nigeria an appealing location, really, for arbitration. How much will this new act now contribute to, to this, making Nigeria an attraction, a location right now? And do you think we've done everything to get there?
Thank you very much. Like previously, like he said, you could have an arbitration case going on, and some parties could go to court, and the court will feign ignorance of what is going on in the arbitration tribunal. But now, courts are now bound to recognize that when there's an arbitration going on, they cannot enter such a case. That is also will give comfort to people who are, especially from outside the country, who think our judicial system is a bit cumbersome and creates bottlenecks in their transactions. So that makes it easy, because the law now has made it such that arbitration is an entity well recognized in Nigeria. So you cannot say you do one thing and then you write something in the agreement that you want to do arbitration, and at the same time you play pranks. So that makes it easy for us to have people bringing the arbitration into Nigeria. That's why I said at the beginning that both now local arbitration cases and international can be effectively handled in Nigeria in such a way that parties will be happy. Because, for instance, the law also provides for this arbitration tribunal.
Yeah.
So I was coming to that. So if just like you see for even other...
Yeah, so when you are not convinced with the first layer, you can move up to the second layer. That is also something that gives comfort to investors. Because investors usually, like they say, capital is a coward. But if you see that there are enough measures to protect their investments, and they themselves, then they're able to come in and do their businesses and trade effectively.
Okay, Mr. Paul, you did mention the United Nations Commission on International Trade Law, UNICITRAL, earlier. To what extent do you think that this new act is in line with that model in terms of arbitration and mediation? I would like you to expand on that, because you just said it's in passing.
Yes, so this arbitration law, this AMA, is now modeled exactly like that. So where, for example, third-party funding, it's one area where if a party to arbitration cannot fund it, you can get a third party to fund the arbitration. The people who are indigent will not be shy to run away from getting justice. And then, of course, under the Act, you must disclose what funding you are getting, and we are sure of recouping it, because most in arbitration, the losing party bears the cost most of the time. So with this confidence, people don't have issues or, okay, we cannot come to Nigeria. Nigeria becomes a destination point, because the law are the examples of what arbitration law should be. That's where we are right now. Yeah.
Okay, now let's come down to business. How will this new act, this AMA Act, impact foreign investment in the country? I will keep saying it, the P&ID, for example. They were dissatisfied, a whole lot of stuff happened. I think we are over there in courts with them. So how do you think that this new act, this AMA Act, will encourage foreign investment? The ABCs of it, because you were saying it in passing too. In what way will it encourage foreign investment?
Okay, what we have done now is that the law is in sync with the United Nations International Commission on International Trade laws, which means the laws that have governed arbitration in wherever an investor is coming from are also applicable here. And beyond that, there are also a lot of things that are also creative that I know I told you about 18 Nobel.
Yeah.
So even we as arbitrators are still trying to also get a full grasp of it. And that is why we say, okay, look, it has to be continuous training and opportunities for people to even learn and learn a lot more about what is going on. So, for instance, as arbitrators, I would say we are repositioning arbitration and ADR in Nigeria. And we are bringing in experts from...
What do you mean by ADR?
Alternative
dispatch resolution
in Nigeria.
Yes.
Because, mediation is also part of it. So we are bringing in experts also who have practiced this in their own jurisprudence for over the years to also come and join us and talk about it. We are doing like 2 days of intensive discussion on this and training too. It's part training, part networking. Because when you have a new law like this, it's not everybody that was part of it.
Do you think we are well grounded in terms of arbitration and mediation in Nigeria?
We are fantastic.
In Africa?
In fact, we are the best in Africa. Nobody competes with us in Africa. And then even internationally, even when these cases, some of our own people also even go abroad to handle in arbitration cases. But what we are saying now is that Nigeria is the biggest black country in the world. We need to have some, intellectualism is something we have also in abundance in Nigeria, whether here at home or in diaspora. We want to create a platform where people can espouse their knowledge and everything. So like this law is robust. It has everything that it needs to have. And but we still need it to be interrogated. So that from the conference we are going to hold in November, for 2 days, 16 and 17, in Abuja here. We chose Abuja because Abuja is the capital of the black world. So we want people to come to Abuja.
Abuja is where the issues are. Plenty.
No. Yeah, there are plenty. Yeah, of
there
course.
Are many issues
there are
in
many
Abuja.
issues because Abuja is the biggest construction site.
Yeah, there are many issues
and
in
most
Abuja.
Of these issues
there are land issues, there are grabbing issues, a lot of issues.
So we need people to come to Abuja.
Understandably so.
So see Abuja, our city that we are growing, because we want people to use it, not only for people to learn arbitration. Come also and see Abuja and see whether you can invest in Nigeria. But this time around, you are investing on a safe ground.
Mm. Okay, first, you want to ask
Yes, I see why Nigeria is very grounded in arbitration, but there's still a lot of room for improvement. A lot of people still don't know what ADRO is. And that's why this conference is an opportunity to learn that, to make sure that we get more grounded in arbitration. So it's very important. There's room for improvement.
Okay, let's go back to the basis. Because for some people watching now, they'll be like, okay, what are these people talking about? Arbitration and Mediation Act, AMA, from ACA to AMA. First and foremost, what is actually even arbitration for those that are watching right now? That perhaps it's what you're saying is sounding interesting and they want to come on board, they want to, be an arbitrator. Or what exactly is arbitration?
Arbitration is more like, let me make it
simple.
Easy for people to it's like a shining light that leads people from a state of dispute to a state of resolution in a short and equitable way. Unlike the court process, for instance, arbitration is not about technicalities, it's about realities. So you cannot just begin to look for the error of your other party and use that as a basis to take over his or her asset. It's equitable. So if all sides are listened to carefully and the positions are made and you come to a decision very quickly, a matter that could take a court 3 to 4 years will take an arbitration maybe 6 months, the maximum. So that way, if you keep your money tied down, because arbitration is all about commercial cases. No other cases are dealt with in that is why it is guided
Not
by
husband and wife.
no.
I
It's
needed to say that.
It's all about commercial cases. That's why.
But we see informal arbitration anyway in family life and
No,
all.
they do.
When
That's
you
mediation.
have okay,
That's
okay, okay,
mediation.
that's
That is
mediation. Yes,
mediation.
that's
So-
that's not arbitration. Yes.
so we
Arbitration
do.
is-
So we do arbitration because an investor wants to put in his money into an investment and expects to reap as quickly as possible. But when now there's going to be a stopgap of a long period where he doesn't even know what happened to his money. By the time he gets his money, even eventually gets it, it has been
lost the
devalued.
value.
Like we're talking about the valuation of our currency now. So if we are doing, you put 10 million naira, by the time you are finished, and the exchange rate has become.
So what's the difference now between arbitration and mediation in this
Yeah.
commercial dispute? What's the difference, yeah, Mr.
Okay, so first
Because
of
I
all-
mentioned earlier, you said, okay, that is mediation for like personal purposes or family
Yes.
purpose, like husband and wife is fighting, a grand uncle or an uncle mediates. You said that's mediation, isn't it? So what's the difference now between arbitration and mediation for commercial disputes? Yes.
Now, first of all, arbitration is party driven. Unlike, let me just go in difference what arbitration is in first of all. Now, arbitration is an alternative dispute resolution. The normal dispute resolution we know is the court process. Now, arbitration, mediation, and conciliation, these are alternative to the court process. And people are encouraged to go to this method because it's faster, it's cheaper, it's provide for more privacy, and people can settle their matter without actually having this Nigeria, it took me to court. It took me to court. You know, that kind of thing. So, now, in arbitration, for instance, the court now is not even supporting this kind of practice. So, instead of everybody just rush to court, go for alternative dispute resolution. It makes it faster. Now, the whole process of difference between arbitration and mediation is something that we cannot exhaust here, and that's why these kind of trainings are important.
Can you just give me a simple,
Yes.
a simple differentiation, because we've got to go now.
Yeah.
Is there a simple?
Look, if we are having this with him and
Yeah.
I'm mediating,
Yeah.
I'll come and meet you. I'll hear you out.
Uh-huh.
I'll go and meet him.
You hear
Yeah.
I'll
him
hear
out.
him out. And then come to a decision that I can see from this that something, maybe you are the one at fault. I create a platform where we can now see that, look, I'll raise the issue with you. I spoke with him. He said, you were the one who slapped him, even though he's the boss. And I think something was wrong with that. Don't you see it? You say you've seen it. He will see his own fault too. So by the time you are coming together, you already know that you are at fault and not at fault, and you can come in
And we
and
settle.
you settle, and the matter goes away.
Goes away.
But in arbitration, it is usually it's for trade. We
Yeah.
are going to a business where we envisage that there could be a problem. And I said, okay, look, because I like to have a problem, this problem, instead of going to court and wasting our time, let's have an arbitrator. We can say, okay, let's ask NICARB to appoint administrator for an arbitrator for in the event that we have a
That's
case,
the case.
instead of going to
Dispute.
court.
Court. Okay.
So that is how it is.
Okay. Okay. So I think my viewers understand that, because for me it was seeming that we were talking so technically, so I needed to bring it down. Thank you very much, gentlemen, for coming on the show today. I've been speaking with Engineer Kashim Ali, who is the chairman 2023 planning committee in NICARB. It's too long. Chartered Institute of Arbitrators. You know. Then Mr. Paul Abhulimen has also joined me, Secretary NICARB Abuja branch. That's the much you can take on today's edition of the program. I will see you all again tomorrow, God willing. Be the best you can be and be the change that you want to see. Bye now.